Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Daily Football Roundup proudly brings to you the best damn podcast in the world, the 12-ounce Curl Route Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Current. You can find me on Twitter at Aaron Current. My co-host, Kyle, is on Twitter at DF Roundup, and my co-host, Corey, is on Facebook somewhere. If you know how to find him, you'll find him. How are we doing, fellas? How's the week going?
It's going, man.
I'm waiting all week for Thursday night this week. It's always nice to sit on the couch. There
you go.
In front of the TV, wherever you sit, however you enjoy the games. It starts early this Sunday with the Falcons traveling to the London Jaguars, however you say.
There you go.
They're traveling over there, home away from home. So really excited to get a start of football a little bit early on Sunday.
They got 2 in a row over there, don't they?
Yep. I think they just stay over there for a couple of weeks. We'll hop right into this. Last week, I don't mean to brag or anything, but I went 5-1. I'm pretty happy about that. Starting to make a comeback, trying to dig myself out of this hole and catch up to OC flow up there. The Corstradamus is what we're going to start calling you if you keep calling these things right.
I like it. I'll take that very much. What did we end up doing though? We went 4-2.
We did go 4-2. I'm hoping
gained one game at least.
Yeah. I'm hoping that that this week none of us have the same picks. I went with Aaron last week, and when I followed him, because I think he made all the picks first, he went 0-6, and I just followed like a blind mouse, and then didn't really follow him. I had all my picks already made and everything, but it had me thinking, should I really be talking football? So it was a good bounce back week in my eyes, going 4-2. I'm comfortable with that. Did a lot better this week, and hoping to hit that 5-1, 6-0 this week. So we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I told you guys, I'm just trying to bat 500, man. I'm good with going 3-3. But let's get right into our picks from last week. We'll start off with the Sunday game. The New England Patriots travel to New Jersey to play the Jets. And we all had New England -2.5, and New England won 15-10 in a not so pretty, very ugly, knockdown, drag out fight in the AFC East. I'll be honest, guys, I didn't watch much of this game at all. But from everything I've heard, Zach Wilson's looking like we all expected. Not very good. I mean, it came out this week. Colin Kaepernick sent a letter to the Jets owner, and I mean, we'll see where they go from that. I don't see kneeling in New York City as being a very patriotic thing, I guess, for lack of a better word. I don't know.
It's been 7 years. Has it been 7 years?
I mean, he hasn't played in forever, and when he did, they changed his nickname to Sacker Pick because he was either getting sacked or picked off every play.
Look, I've had nightmares of Colin Kaepernick being a Packers fan. I believe he set the quarterback rushing record against the Packers in one of the playoffs games, and it just seemed like every year we played the 49ers, we got it handed to us. So he might be better than that quarterback out in Chicago, but
I don't know. I haven't seen him play in years. I don't. We'll get into it. I know y'all don't want to hear another Bears rant.
back to the important part. New England got a dub.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing. It was gross. The defense is still amazing.
Yep.
It was raining. Belichick looked weird. It was just a weird day. But we got the dub. And then we got a division dub, so something to grow on. We got Dallas next week or this week, and I don't know after the Arizona game. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? I'm glad that game was not on the 6-pack challenge because I damn sure would have said Dallas. I mean, there was no question. I thought, but
that was weird.
Yeah, we'll get into our next game on the 6-pack challenge. Sunday at 1:00, the Denver Broncos traveled to Miami for their home opener, and Miami put it on them. for lack of a better word. 70-20. Mike McDaniel looks like a freaking genius. 5 touchdowns through the on the ground and 5 touchdowns through the air. Russell Wilson looked like a shell of himself, and I don't know if you guys heard the post game press conference with Sean Payton, but he was not very happy with the media. They brought up 70 being a historic number, and he was like, "What's your question?" And he was like, how do you feel about it?" And he's like, "I just answered." He was highly upset, which I can understand after getting your ass kicked in Miami. You don't really want to field questions about that. Again, we were all step for step in this with Miami -6.5. Corey, I believe you said you would have teased it up to like 10 and still bet Miami. And
yeah, kind of wish you did.
You were right.
I won a little bit, but I didn't win as much as I should have. Daggone, that had to be tough to watch if you were a Bronco fan. Like I know the Bears have been doing rough, but that was off. That was like Oregon playing like I don't even
Colorado.
Well, yeah, that pretty much. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But that was disgusting. Miami, I think, is the truth. Let's not forget they didn't even have Waddle.
Mm-hmm.
So the second best player on the team, and they didn't even have him. So damn, like
I think one of the craziest things about the Miami Dolphins though is that the top 6 speeds logged this year in the NFL on any given play all belong to Miami Dolphins. It's like Tyreek twice, Raheem Mostert twice. I think Devin A-Chain's on there. And then maybe Waddle is another one. I'm not really sure. But they also have they're setting like a record with the amount of plays that they have in motion. I think they're like 56% of their offensive plays have a guy going in motion too. So it's like you said, Mike McDaniel is just doing they're going to have to start calling him Magic Man because he's doing some crazy things down there.
Yeah. It's going to work until it doesn't. I mean, like they keep doing the motion thing. And it's working, and everybody knows they're doing it, and they're still doing it, and it's still working. So,
well, I mean that Shanahan offense has worked since Papa Shanahan ran it back in the 90s. You know, he made Jay Cutler a Pro Bowler in that offense, and it's still working. And that guy, the Bears didn't even bring him in for an interview, and it's still a sore spot for me every Sunday when I see his team look absolutely incredible.
Before we move on, can we just imagine your ball boy putting up 70 points on you as an organization? Mike McDaniel was a ball boy for the Denver Broncos, and he put up 70 points. Had the chance, I would have kicked the field goal. I would have went for 73. I mean, when you're airing it out and throwing it to Chosen Anderson or Robbie Chosen or Chosen.
They pulled the starters and we're still
they still threw a tutty.
Yeah, Mike White had a day. Like,
yeah.
That's nuts. Like that was what was it 8 minutes and 41 seconds left when they did that too. So that's 3/4 and some change, and they did that. Like, and now next week it's them in Buffalo. We'll see, but like I mean Miami looks like they're unstoppable on offense.
Yeah, I mean they're legit. I mean the closest thing we had to stopping them was your Patriots held them to 24 points. I think we're only 3 weeks into the season, but I mean that team looks awesome. Some people brought up the fact that Miami wanted Sean Payton so bad. That's why they forfeited their draft pick was between Sean Payton and Tom Brady. And they didn't know if that was part of the reason why he dunked on them like that. But, kudos to Mike for doing that. He's great. But we'll move on to –
Well, real quick. The point differential, Miami is plus 59 right now. Buffalo's second with plus 56. So
wow. Yeah, they put it on Washington last weekend, so that was a big point differential as well. But we'll bring that up later. I'm pretty sure that I have that game in our 6-pack challenge this week, so we'll definitely talk about all that. We'll get into our next game. New Orleans went to Green Bay for their home opener, and they lost the game 17-18. I had New Orleans covering the 2-point spread, and you both had Green Bay winning by at least 2, and it was a 1-point game. This game is completely different, in my opinion, if Derek Carr does not get injured. They were up 17-0 and looked like they were in cruise control. And then Jameis Winston came in, and I think they had 100 yards of offense after that. So a lot of people shit on Derek Carr when he was leaving Las Vegas, and you kind of see the difference between him and what they would have had in New Orleans had they not brought him in. I still think New Orleans is a damn good team. I haven't looked up an update on his injury going forward, but I'm happy at least New Orleans covered in this spread, so that I could get the points for that. But Kyle, I'm sure you watched every second of this game. Can you tell me a little bit about it, like how it went? And
yeah, so I'm gonna actually disagree. I don't think New Orleans is a really good team. When I watched the game, this was really kind of a boring game. And then Rashid Shaheed had a punt return touchdown. Other than that, I mean, none of these offenses were really doing anything. But on both sides, Green Bay wasn't looking good on offense, and neither was New Orleans. It was punt after punt after punt. And I'm trying to look at the stats right now on how many punts there were in this game, and there were 7 from New Orleans and 4 from Green Bay. And then it wasn't even that I think Derek Carr going out of the game had something to do with it, but it was also the Saints play calling in the fourth quarter too. And Green Bay just got the momentum and started going. Jordan Love didn't look great. He was missing guys that were open, and I guess he finally, locked and loaded. But on one of the drives, there was, I think, 60 yards of pass interference against the Saints that just drove Green Bay right down the field. Wow. And you had Jordan Love take a short one in and then throw one to Romeo Doubs. Green Bay shouldn't have won this game, I can tell you that. Not with the way that they played the first almost 3.5 quarters. But again, Green Bay is not a full team right now, just like we were saying before the show.
Right.
Missing in this game, Aaron Jones, missing Christian Watson, David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Jair Alexander.
Yeah.
They're missing key guys. I mean, some of their best players.
Bunch of stars in street clothes doesn't help you.
Exactly right. So I wasn't impressed with Green Bay. I'm glad that they put it together in the fourth quarter. I'm impressed that they came back and had the balls to go for 2 after they scored that first touchdown as well. That really won them the game. But then they let New Orleans drive down the field and miss a field goal. And we would have been right back to where they were last week against the Falcons. The ball in Jordan Love's hand with about a minute to go, and when they did it against the Falcons, it didn't look good. So I don't know how it would have looked against the Saints. So I'm thankful that kicker missed the field goal. I'm sad that I didn't cover in the 6-pack challenge, but I'm happy that Green Bay pulled out the W in this one.
Yeah, I did see that last second field goal miss. It was a rookie kicker versus a rookie kicker, so both those guys had to grow up quick. And before I let you speak, Corey, Kamara does come back next week for New Orleans, so it might be a different looking offense. Hopefully Carr can come back too, but go ahead, Corey.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The leading rusher for the Saints was Miller with 9 carries for 34 yards in a game.
Oof.
That was their leading rusher. So I don't care how old Alvin Kamara is and that talk. Alvin Kamara is fresh. He's had the 3 weeks off. He went on vacation. And he's coming back. And I think even without Carr, I think adding somebody like Kamara back changes their outcomes so much. And then we also seen Chris Olave catch everything. He's definitely that guy. So it's a tough loss for the Saints, especially if Carr's out for more than a week or 2. But I think they'll bounce back. Especially, look, in the division they're in, doesn't matter at this point. I mean, you lost to a conference team, but at the end of the day, I think New Orleans is still sitting fine.
Yeah, and all of the NFC South lost yesterday or Sunday. So they didn't really lose a lot of ground there. But, man, when you're up 17 and you can't run the ball, that'll be an issue unless Kamara can come back and fix it.
I think Kamara gets probably 25 touches next week.
Yeah.
I mean, just explodes.
Yeah. Well, the next game that we had was a battle of the winless. The LA Chargers traveled to Minnesota and they won the game 28-24. I had the Chargers covering a 1-point spread. They were the underdog, and you both had Minnesota covering the other way. I watched quite a bit of this game. It was a fun game going back and forth quite a bit. Kirk Cousins threw an interception in the end zone at the end, but I think before that, there was a fourth down. The Chargers hadn't been able to run the ball all game, and they had the ability to either pin Kirk Cousins deep with no timeouts and make him drive the entire field, or go for it on fourth, and they went for it, but they tried to run the ball with their backup running back for 1 yard, and he didn't get it, and drama ensued, but luckily their defense stepped up in the end and caught a tipped interception in the end zone. It was a really fun game, but I still don't trust Brandon Staley, and I think that seat is scorching hot under him in LA for sure. Kyle, what did you think of this game?
I think that it's unfair to say that Kirk Cousins threw an interception in the Reds, or at the end of the game. Yeah, yes, right. He gets the stat for the interception thrown, but it bounced off Hawkinson and then bounced off a Chargers defender, and then I don't remember who got the pick. But they got it bounced right into his hands.
Yeah.
If Hawkinson hangs on to that, they score, or they get down to the 1 or whatever, and then they put the ball back into Herbert's hands with just a few minutes to go. I don't even think we were at minutes at that point. But it could have been a totally different outcome. I think this one was really a coin flip. And I think that if you were to play this game 100 times, 50 wins would go to LA and 50 wins would go to Minnesota. I do think that that's how close this one would be. But, LA also week 1 held strong with Miami, who just blew out the Broncos.
Right.
So, I don't think LA is what their record shows. And I'm surprised to see Minnesota at 0-3 as well.
Yeah, their talent is far too high for an 0-3 team.
I think the Minnesota Vikings are the best 0-3 team we've ever seen. If Staley, if they'd have lost, he wouldn't have made it out of the building before being fired. I still think it's a fireable offense. Like, I still do. That was a horrible call. Like, I changed channels and come back, and Minnesota's got the ball. And it's like, what happened? What happened? And so I had to look it up. And if you notice the way that Kirk Cousins threw that ball, like he threw a piss missile in there. The way they described how that play had to how it had to be done, like he had to throw it that hard. Mm-hmm. So Hawkinson has to make that catch.
Yeah.
So that was unfortunate, but I'm not counting out the Vikings yet. And if Staley makes one more of those plays, he's got to be fired. That's just insane to do.
Yeah. Yeah, they just paid Hawkinson big money for him to make plays like that. Minnesota is they went from one of the luckiest teams last year, winning 11 one-possession games, to one of the least lucky teams this year. I mean, they're fumbling the ball all over the place, and that's really what it's come down to in a lot of these games. I think they have 7 or 8 fumbles. They just can't hold on to the ball.
That's what we're seeing right now. Is they were 11-0 last year. They're 0-3 in the same situation games this year. So the tables literally are turning.
Yeah, how the turntables.
I think one of the things that doesn't make sense to me with the Vikings, and I think that them being 0-3 right now, especially with the Thursday night game being Detroit against Green Bay, and more than likely one of those teams, unless there's a tie, is walking out 3-1. One of the most surprising things, they released Dalvin Cook at the beginning of the season. They could still have Dalvin Cook on their team this year and probably be 1-2 or 2-1 because they would have a good running back still in that backfield. Not to take anything away from Alexander Mattison, but he's not Dalvin Cook.
Yeah. Well, they did trade for Cam Akers this week. I don't remember seeing any stats from him.
He wasn't active.
They used him.
They didn't use him.
So they're still getting him up to speed with that offense. Maybe that's a guy that they lean on going forward. I'm not really sure how they're going to split the carries or anything like that. Speaking of dumb coaching decisions, that brings me to our next game. Sunday Night Football. The Pittsburgh Steelers traveled to Las Vegas to play the Raiders, and this was another Pittsburgh home game. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Yeah,
saw highlights of it.
Yeah,
there was so many Steelers fans in attendance at this game. Pittsburgh wins 23-18. We all had Pittsburgh covering, and it really came down to a coaching decision. Fourth and 5 on the 10-yard line. Josh McDaniels decides to kick a field goal while he was down 8 instead of going for the touchdown and the tie. It's mind-boggling. He said we needed 2 possessions anyway for the win, yes, but if you're that close against this Pittsburgh defense, you got to go for it, man. You're in the AFC West. You know who's in there with you, a little team in Kansas City that looks pretty fucking good. You got to take wins when you can get it. I don't understand it. Corey, this is your boy going out there to Vegas. What's he got going on out there?
One, I was super surprised, like you said, that Stadium 1 looks like a big Roomba, but for to have that many Pittsburgh fans in it, I was very surprised. So that's one. I don't know. I don't know what Josh was doing. I don't know what he was thinking. It seems like when he becomes a head coach, he just forgets how to do stuff. And he just needs to stay an offensive coordinator because that's insane. If you just go for it and then pin him down there, because you can't pin him down there any other way if you kick the field goal. You cannot get them to be on the inside the 5. You can't do it. So why not try it? It's still a 1 possession game. For them to get into field goal possession, they would have to drive 55, 60 yards with their offense. Like, trust your boys every once in a while. So I don't know. It was crazy to me.
Yeah, so I have a few takeaways from this game, and one, I'm not surprised that the Steelers were overtaking that stadium. I think that's how it's gonna be for the Raiders for a while, because it's Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a melting pot of just a bunch of different people, and if your team's playing in Vegas, what a great reason to go to Vegas and gamble some money and go see your team play.
That's true.
You know,
fair enough.
It's not a great place to try to build a fan base, but it's a great place to have a team to make a lot of money because it's well traveled. You know, I think that Davante Adams will be traded before the end of the year to a team that's going to compete for the playoffs.
I agree.
He's already said that, there are no moral victories. He doesn't care if he had 1,800 yards receiving against the Steelers and 22 touchdowns, because it seemed like he did, even though it was like 100 some odd yards and 2 touchdowns. He's the only offense that they had in that game. Josh Jacobs hasn't gotten it going, and I don't know what they're doing with him. He's another piece who could be traded before the trade deadline too. You could see the Raiders, because Josh McDaniels is in his first year with this team, and I believe that they have a new GM this year too, I think. But you could see them at the trade deadline blowing it up and saying, let's get some guys in here that we want in here. And let's try to get some picks or some players that we want in here. Yeah, exactly.
And there was kind of talks of that already, sort of, especially with Josh Jacobs. I can see him doing it and just trying to get some picks and completely rebuild it. It's only 1 year in. I don't know how the signage was for Garoppolo. I can't remember off the top of my head. See if you can get there's like 6 quarterbacks potentially coming out in this class that could be potential franchise players. You're going to get a haul for Davante Adams. You'll get a little bit of something for Josh Jacobs.
Mm-hmm.
And with Tom Brady in there too, he could probably just tell Mark Davis, and Mark Davis would be like, okay. So,
well,
that would be the second time that Tom Brady's gotten rid of Garoppolo, because he did it in New England too. But I mean, if we're going to talk about Garoppolo, he might not even play this week. They said he's in concussion protocol right now.
Yeah.
So they could have Brian Hoyer trotting out this week,
Brian.
throwing bombs to Davante.
They drafted Aiden O'Connell. He looked pretty damn good in the preseason. The rookie quarterback out of Purdue, who looks like he's about 35-ish, but he's actually just fresh out of college. Looks like Farva. I like that rookie quarterback. I'm actually going to see this Las Vegas team in a few weeks when they travel to Chicago. I got tickets for that game, so I'll be going up there to watch the toilet bowl of the Bears and the Raiders. I just wanted to get to Soldier Field before they move out of there. It's that's really what it came down to. But that'll be a fun game for me to watch, I guess.
What's going to happen is Aaron's just going to be motherfucking the Bears from the stands, row 5.
Your boy's going to go get hey, if the Bears keep losing, your boy's going to go get a paper bag. I'm telling you, I'm like embarrassed on the motherfucker. That'll be. We'll see if Aiden O'Connell gets some play. But that coaching decision just just blew me away. Like
Yeah.
you're an offensive guy. How do you not have situational awareness? But it is what it is. We'll get into our final game. The Monday Night Football game, the Philadelphia Eagles traveled down to Tampa to play the Buccaneers. I had Tampa covering the 5-point spread as the underdog. You guys both had Philly. I thought that the Buccaneers had some buried treasure, but it turns out it was just fool's gold. They blew the game, and it is not.
How long you was working on that one, bud?
I've been thinking of it all day, bro. I was sitting on it. But yeah, I mean, Philly looks like the real deal to me in the NFC. It comes down to Philly and San Fran. Those are, I mean, maybe Green Bay. Their defense looks really good, and if Jordan Love if he's having a good game, but it comes down to those two teams to me, and Philly's just proved it. And every week that I see Jalen Carter go off, I got to hear another Bears podcast complain that they didn't draft him. But I don't know. I don't think Jalen Carter and our defense would be exactly what he is in Philadelphia to their defense. And I mean, they look like the real deal. They got back on track. You guys called it last week, and I was wrong. And this was my one miss for the week. Corey, what did you think of this game?
Apparently Swift. Is it DeAndre
Mm-hmm.
Swift? Apparently the Lions just weren't using him right because the past two games he's went off. I wasn't too surprised by the score. This is one of those other ones that I wish I could have done the alternate line on. I think we kind of touched on it last week. I think we've seen kind of what Tampa Bay really is when they play an actual like really good team.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's about what I expected. Philly goes in there and gets a dub.
Yeah, I got to hear about Kelsey and Swift all day at the Bears game, and then the next day they talked about Kelsey and Swift with Philadelphia. Go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry if I stole that one from you.
No, that's okay. I did have two things that I wanted to talk about, and neither of them were about Kelsey or Swift, but they were about when you brought up Jalen Carter and how Eagles fans are all over Jalen Carter right now and how great he is and everything like that. Have you heard anything about Aaron Donald this year? Have you seen Aaron Donald in the news about making a bunch of stats or sacks and tackles and stuff like that?
No.
Aaron Donald doesn't have any help on that defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Carter has monsters around him. Of course he's going to be putting up great numbers. There's too many people to block on that Eagles defensive line. If you put Jalen Carter in Chicago, he's not doing what he's doing in Philadelphia because he doesn't have the supporting cast.
That's my point.
So
exactly.
You can sit here and say, oh, look how great this guy's doing. I'm glad we drafted him. But you could look at the same players in a different situation and say, this guy stinks.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't even know what the second part of the second part. The Buccaneers are still trying to rebound from Brady. They have a lot of money that they're still paying a lot of guys that aren't playing for them. Yeah. This Tampa Bay team was not built to compete this year or go make the playoffs. You can win the South with 9 or 8 wins this year. We could see an 8 and 9 team winning this division because it's not great. I think that the Falcons, I believe the Falcons are 2-1. They're frauds. The Saints are 2-1, I believe. They're frauds. I don't think that those two teams are as good as some people might think. And the Panthers, the Panthers are going to give the Bears a top 3 pick, and the Bears are going to give the Bears a top 3 pick.
That's right.
First and fourth. Especially with Arizona doing what they did against Dallas. So this Tampa Bay team wasn't built to compete this year. They kind of remind me of the Vikings. You got 2 great players that you can throw the ball to and not a lot of help around that. Same thing in Minnesota. And I'm not even talking about Jordan Addison. I'm talking about Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson. And aside from that, there's not much going on in that offense for either team. Godwin and Evans for the Bucs, Hawkinson and Jefferson for the Vikings.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple of games that we kind of touched on last week and really expected them to be blowouts. I mean, we took them off the 6-pack challenge because we didn't expect them to be competitive, and the straight up upsets. You had Dallas at Arizona, I believe. Dallas goes into Arizona and literally got manhandled by the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals do not have anyone on that team, but they play their ass off. It is, I don't want to get on another Bears rant, but it is the opposite of what I see in Chicago. They care, they give a shit, and they're playing hard for their coach. And the other game, it was Houston playing Jacksonville. Houston went in there and beat Jacksonville's ass. There's no other way to put it. CJ Stroud looks like a legitimate quarterback. Now, maybe when some DCs get a little more tape on the guy, they'll know how to attack him better. But as of right now, he's looking like the best quarterback out of Ohio State ever. This is while I have an Ohio State quarterback on my team. You know, he's putting up yards and finding the open man, and he's throwing the ball accurately, and he looks like a leader out there too, even as a rookie. You don't expect that out of that, but if you guys want to touch on those, or if there's any other games you guys want to touch on before we move on to this week.
I definitely want to touch on CJ Stroud. He was the one that I thought was going to be the best coming out. If you think about CJ Stroud right now with that Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Damian Pierce, they're all young. The couple of little bright spots on the defense, and D'Amico Ryans, the coach right now, I like what they're doing there. And that division, as we're seeing right now, we thought Jacksonville was going to go away with it. This division may be winnable for the foreseeable future. So I could see a very quick turnaround with Houston. And as far as I want to touch on Tennessee real quick. Tannehill you can't do that stuff anymore. Derrick Henry only had 62 rushing yards or something. Something's got to change. I don't know if it's putting our boy in, Aaron, or what.
Well, you talk about a running back that might be gone at the trade deadline. I mean, they're not using Derrick Henry. If you look at the shares between him and the rookie running back they've brought in, he's almost doubling the shares that Henry's getting. You've got to think that they're just trying to keep the mileage off his tires so they can ship him out of town. And
11 carries for 20 yards. That's insane. And they were kind of in the game for the majority of the game until the fourth quarter. That's insane.
Nobody's going to be able to run against Cleveland this year, though. To go back to CJ Stroud, only two quarterbacks sit above him for passing yards in the first three games for rookies: Justin Herbert and Cam Newton. CJ Stroud right now, through his first three games, has the third most passing yards by a rookie. So Aaron said he is looking like I don't know if you could say steal at number 2, but maybe he should have went number 1. But again, what would Stroud look like in Carolina right now if he would have been drafted there instead of Houston? I guess we'll never know. What would have happened if Josh Rosen didn't go to Arizona, right? Another one that I wanted to touch on, because there was 4 games when we were ending our podcast last week that I said, not going to watch this game, not going to watch this game, not going to watch this one. But the Colts at 2-1 right now, leading the division, beat the Ravens. That's not one that I would have expected, especially without Anthony Richardson. I mean, Gardner came in and he played, but that Colts team almost lost to Arizona week 1, and maybe Arizona is not as bad as everybody thinks. I think it was Arizona and Indy that played. No, Indy played against Jacksonville. Arizona played against somebody else, I think. Indianapolis almost beat Jacksonville. Excuse me. Who'd you say they played week 1, Corey?
Working on it. They played
Arizona.
Jacksonville. They played Jacksonville week 1, and then they played Houston week 2.
Do you know who Arizona played week 1? Because they almost won the game that they played week 1 too.
They had week 2, and they had the lead. They played Washington. Washington came back.
There we go. Yeah.
So they had the lead at Washington. They had the lead against the Giants by.
They didn't just have the lead. Yeah, they were blowing them out.
And then they just beat the best defense.
And then they just beat the Cowboys.
They didn't beat.
Did you guys see the video of Josh Dobbs trying to order his jersey at their team store? They didn't even have it. Nope. Even on the customized where you can choose the player, his number wasn't even on it. Hopefully they've gotten that worked out. But Arizona's surprising the hell out of me. I mean, I saw that video of their coach, and I was like, well, he seems lame. How are these guys going to get fired up to play for him? But man, he's got that team fired up. He's got them playing hard, a good young team, and who knows what they do when Kyler Murray comes back. I mean, they might have a quarterback controversy on their hands with Josh Dobbs. Who would have expected that?
What if Josh Dobbs is Kurt Warner? What if he's washed out of the league and then all of a sudden comes back and he's looking like a franchise quarterback. Yeah. He is a NASA scientist, I believe. So he's a very, very smart guy.
Hey, I'm happy for him because, we've seen some of these stories before. He looks fired up. The team looks like they're behind him. I mean, I think it's a cool story.
Oh, it's a very cool story. Yeah, he's a rocket scientist, I believe. He got a degree from Tennessee. He played pretty well for them, but yeah, he's got a good comeback story on his hands. That's for sure. That team, I don't know how to explain it. When you look at the roster, I didn't expect them to have first and second pick between them and the Texans, and then they both win. And I don't know, maybe my Bears will get the first and second pick. I don't know, but we'll get into this week's 6-pack challenge starting on Thursday night.
Where were you at, Corey? Come on, man.
Sorry, I was switching the pages.
Thursday night football. Detroit travels to Green Bay. Green Bay gets back-to-back home games, and they're 1.5-point home underdogs to the Detroit Lions. The over-under in this game is 46, and the money line for Detroit is -120. For Green Bay, it's +100. I'll go first on this one. I'm going to go with Detroit, and the only reason why is because I still don't know. Aaron Jones is questionable still. Christian Watson is questionable still. For the Lions, David Montgomery's questionable still, but they just drafted a first-round running back. They drafted Sam Laporta, tight end out of Iowa, just rinse and repeat Iowa tight ends. They just get the job done in the NFL. And they seem like they've got all the momentum going into Green Bay. This has become a bigger game because you got the 0-3 Bears and the 0-3 Vikings, and you got these two teams kind of fighting for the head of that division. But I think I trust Detroit just a little bit more. And it probably comes down to Jared Goff. As much as I hate to say it, the guy went to the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think I'm going with Detroit -1.5 on this one. What about you, Corey?
I'm also going to go Detroit 1.5. I'm glad it's sitting at 1.5. I'm also going to hammer the over on this. I love Detroit still. And I think they're just a better team than Green Bay. So, for that reason, I'm picking Detroit. And I'm looking for some really nice jerseys come Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah. Sorry.
David Bakhtiari and Elton Jenkins have both been ruled out for this game.
Already.
Christian Watson and Aaron Jones should both play. And I think Jair Alexander may be a game time decision. I'm not exactly sure. And I think Devondre Campbell, our middle linebackers, out too. I've rolled with Green Bay twice this year, and in both occasions, I did not make the right pick. This week I will make the right pick because I'm rolling with Green Bay +1.5. Not only will they cover the spread, but they will win this game outright. At least I hope. I can't go against Green Bay. I can't go against Green Bay. I think that this is going to be a dogfight. But I think that I do really think that Green Bay can win this game. Especially getting Aaron Jones back and getting a running back there that is going to move his body and get out of there and be able to catch the ball out of the backfield. Look, nothing against your Bears, Corey, but look at the way he played week 1 against the Bears. Or Aaron, sorry, not you, Corey.
Don't give me that bullshit.
Week 1 against the Bears, Aaron Jones put that team on his back.
Absolutely.
And with giving Jordan Love a run game and being able to, the way that Matt LaFleur schemes, Green Bay has a chance, but on the other side of the token, with Dan Campbell biting people's kneecaps and stuff, this Detroit team's good too. Probably better than Green Bay. I picked them to win this division, but I'm picking Green Bay to win this game.
Well, I mean, if you trust it, man, it's plus 100 money line for Green Bay.
Never said I trusted it.
I'm just saying, maybe you can win some money. But yeah, Aaron Jones is definitely a huge difference in that offense. I mean, he gives Jordan Love an outlet. He's always freaking open, and the guy just, I mean, he just shows up and does his job week in and week out when he's healthy. Yeah, that's so. We'll move on from that game and we'll travel across the ocean to bloody London. You've got the Atlanta Falcons against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
You got a little Cockney there, just a little bit there.
And the Jaguars are 3-point favorites in this game. The over-under is 43. The money line for Atlanta is plus 136. For Jacksonville is minus 162. So it seems like Vegas is leaning Jacksonville. This is technically a home game for them, even though it's in London. I don't know how season ticket holders in Jacksonville feel about giving away so many games to London, but I don't know if I'd be happy about it. I'm having a very difficult time figuring out Jacksonville because I expected them to run away with this division, and yet they are losing to seemingly less talented teams. It's very difficult for me to choose. And I love Bijan Robinson. So for those reasons, give me Atlanta +3 in London, going on the road and taking advantage of the Jaguars defense that are not getting much push on that defensive line. So give me Atlanta with riding Bijan Robinson all the way to that win. Go ahead, Corey.
I have too much faith and money on Jacksonville this year. They're not that bad. I just don't get it right now. Atlanta's hiding their quarterback, and they're going to hide him all the way over at Wimbledon Stadium. We can get tickets for $29, boys. Just saying.
Pay more for the flight over there.
All right. If it was up to the Cons, Jacksonville would already be in London. They got 2 games in London. One's home, one's technically away. I think against the Bills, and so I'm taking Jacksonville in their other home besides Duval -3.
So Jacksonville last year started the season 3-7, finished 9-8. You want to talk about a slow start? We're talking about a slow start again this year. Mm-hmm. I already said it earlier. I think the Falcons are frauds. I think until you get, I heard somebody talking today and they compared Jordan Love to Desmond Ridder. And I had to laugh out loud. I was in the car by myself. I felt like one of those people that are in the car by themselves wearing a mask because I was laughing by myself. But to compare Desmond Ridder to Jordan Love is a slap in the face.
Yeah, that's just
because that is awful. And that's not even close. Jordan Love is far and away better than Desmond Ridder, but Jordan Love has been put in a very, very good situation. But Desmond Ridder has a lot of weapons. He's got he's got the highest drafted tight end of all time. Drake London was what, a number 5 pick or something like that. He was high as well. Or maybe he just wears number 5. And then they got maybe it was Bijan Robinson that was drafted number 5 or 6.
Bijan was drafted number 8.
I think London was like 9 or something. Yeah.
There's a lot of numbers, and there's a lot of high draft picks. There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And until you get a competent quarterback in there, they're going to continue to not know how to utilize these guys. Bijan was held in check last week against the Lions. He didn't look great. So I've got to think that Jacksonville's going to get right this week with Sunshine at quarterback, because Trevor Lawrence is still one of my top picks for MVP. Slow start, but a good finish, and I think he can get it. And he has too many weapons in Jacksonville or in London to really run away or throw away with this game.
They're dropping a lot of balls out there in Jacksonville. I heard today. I don't know what the numbers are, but apparently they've got a lot of drops. I think Justin Fields will be in Atlanta before the end of the season. I'll just drop that down there. He's from Georgia. He's not happy, fellas. In his press conferences, he looks like a defeated man.
Okay, fair enough, but it's like, I mean, it's not – he's to blame a little bit too. Like, I understand
he
he's
is
happy, but, like, you can't get all butthurt and then suck, too, at the same time. Like,
it's everybody.
I agree,
it's everyone.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it because I have the Bears game on this week's 6-pack challenge, and I've got some numbers to tell you guys. But the next game should be a very fun game. Sunday at 1:00, Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo is a 2.5-point favorite at home. The over-under is at 54, and the money line has Miami plus 120, Buffalo minus 142. This is going to be if they could flex games, this would be Sunday night. There's no way it wouldn't be. Both of these teams, you talk about AFC Championship preview type game. This is it. I'm riding the hot hand, though. Give me Miami plus 2.5. I think they travel up there to Buffalo. Buffalo slows them down some because they have a great defense. But I just weirdly this year I trust Tua a little bit more than I do Josh Allen. Josh Allen turned the ball over quite a bit against the Jets. He got back on track against the Raiders and the Commandos, but give me Tua, give me the Buffalo offense, defense, special teams, all of the above. Miami plus 2.5. Go ahead, Corey.
Definitely hammering the over, and I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins. Even though I picked the Buffalo Bills to win the division, Miami's hot. Miami's real right now. And until somebody stops them, Bills have a chance. But until somebody slows them down, I'm pretty sure Waddle's going to play this week too. So, I mean, they just look too explosive on offense right now, even for a Buffalo defense. And then you still have the whole Josh Allen just chucking it. There's a couple pretty good corners that play in Miami. And Van Ginkel out of nowhere is just having a year so far. So I think Miami wins outright. And it's still going to be a great game, though. I can't wait to watch this one.
Yeah, I'll definitely be tuning in on this one. Go ahead, Kyle.
This game reminds me of two heavyweights standing in the middle of a boxing ring with their gloves just by their side, just beating each other in the face. Absolutely no defense. I mean, there's obviously going to be defense, but like Corey said, smashing the over in this one. You know what Josh Allen's going to do. He's going to try to get the ball to Stephon Diggs. Gabe Davis has caught a touchdown in 2 consecutive games right now. And I don't know. I haven't really seen what Dalton Kincaid has done this year, but I don't think it's been much. James Cook has looked pretty good at running back, but then you have Miami on the other side of the ball. You want to take Tyreek out of the picture? Good. I'll get it to Waddle. You want to take both of them out of the picture? That's great because we have 2 running backs who just proved last week that they can run it for 70 yards for a touchdown too. You want to take all of them out of the picture? Well, we've got Chosen Chosen Anderson, whatever he goes by right now, who caught a long bomb as well. They just got a lot of speed on this offense. And I think that they are what the Oakland Raiders aspired to be for the past 30 years by just drafting speed. And they're actually showing that. They're drafting that speed and it's working for them.
Yeah.
And I've got to roll with you guys and I've got to go with Miami. And I think Miami has a real shot. I think they will win this game.
Yeah.
It's like the greatest show on turf 2.0 at this point.
If this game was later in the season, they had to travel to Buffalo and sludge through the snow. Maybe it's a different story, but they get to go there early.
Yeah, so we talked about earlier when we were picking divisional winners and stuff like that, how Miami had a bunch of away games so they couldn't use the advantage of the very hot games. Also, they're getting rid of a lot of their cold games early, which is huge too. I didn't even think about to look at it the other way around. And so I think that's going to be something to look at more towards the end of the year.
Yeah, that'll definitely be a fun game. And I love Mike McDaniel. Every time my wife sees him, she's like, he just looks like a creep. I'm like, but he's a fucking genius, babe. I don't, you know,
he's a genius and he has a good personality too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's great to watch this guy succeed. It's great. Honestly. If Green Bay can't win the Super Bowl, I'd love to see Miami win it.
Yeah. We played them last year and that's when Justin was actually running and taking off and getting the big yards. And they asked him because you could see him say something to Justin on the sideline at one point during the game. And they asked him after the game, they were like, what'd you say to Justin there? And he goes, well, I just told him he needed to stop running and he didn't listen. So he doesn't really take to coaching very well. I just love his personality. It's so great. Our next game is another battle of the winless, as we did last week. Minnesota travels to Carolina. Carolina is a 4.5 point home underdog. The over-under on this game is 45.5. Money line is Minnesota minus 205, and Carolina is plus 170. I think Minnesota goes down there and wins this ball game. I don't know who they have in Carolina that can cover Justin Jefferson, but I don't know who on the planet can cover him. So I think he goes down there and really takes over the game, and they win handily. I watched part of Carolina's game last week, and Andy Dalton was making some smart decisions, getting the ball out of his hand and moving it against Seattle, but I don't know. I just trust Minnesota's offense way more than I do anything that they have in Carolina right now. And Bryce Young is probably questionable. He was out last week with an ankle. I don't know if it's still lingering. But honestly, Andy Dalton looked better than him last week anyway. But they don't have a whole lot in Carolina. So give me Minnesota -4.5. Finally get that first win of the season. Go ahead, Corey.
Both of these teams are 0-3, and that's the only thing they have in common. These are two very different 0-3s. Well, I'm hammering overs all day, it seems like, but I'm hammering the over and the money line for Minnesota. I think Minnesota blows them out. They might get close to 45 by themselves. Depending on if Carolina, whose quarterback Dalton did look good, but Dalton's on his fourth team in 4 years or 5 years or whatever for a reason. I think Minnesota handles them pretty easily, actually.
I think one of the most intriguing headlines going into this game is revenge game for wide receiver Adam Thielen. Thielen had a big week last week with Andy Dalton, and really was putting on the week before that too. And you look at the stats of the rest of the players, and it's pretty much Adam Thielen that's doing a lot of the work. Vested veteran who you can trust in any type of situation, and Thielen's been great for the past 6-7 years for a reason. And Carolina has a lot of first-round picks on that defense too. That defense, it's not they're not a poverty defense, but this Carolina team isn't great. And like Corey said, these are two completely different teams. Not only would I take Minnesota -4.5, but I might take them this weekend, on some of the apps I'm on, -9.5. I think they can win this game by double digits.
Ooh.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know if I'd go with double digits just because Minnesota's defense isn't fantastic. But yeah, definitely. I didn't even think of the Adam Thielen revenge game against Minnesota. But Carolina paid Miles Sanders quite a bit of money to come down there, and it ain't showing up on the stat sheet. I think he has 12 catches for something, and I mean he's just not doing what he did in Philly, and that shows you how your offensive line helps you so much. I mean, I didn't expect it out of him. I expected him to go down there and be a veteran presence that they needed, and I don't know. Anyway.
He has 41 carries for 139 yards this year, and 12 receptions for 68 yards.
Yeah. Not very good averages on those. The next game we have is another battle of the winless. It is the Denver Broncos traveling to Chicago to play my Chicago Bears. The Denver Broncos gave up 70 points last week to the Miami Dolphins, and I got some numbers here, fellas. I looked this up on the Twitter machine because I told you guys I didn't like this defense. When Matt Eberflus took over, it was, we're going to run Tampa 2. We're going to turn back the hands of time in Chicago, and it's not worked out. I mean, Travis Kelce was basically running around wide open, and if they tried to cover him, then they just run someone underneath it, and Mahomes is going to hit that all day. So since Matt Eberflus has taken over, the Bears are 32nd in EPA per play. I'm trying to remember what all these mean. Dang it, I meant to look that up. 32nd in drop back EPA per play, 32nd in pressure rate, 32nd in pressure rate with a 4-man rush, 32nd in sacks per game, 32nd in yards conceded per coverage snap. That's bad. That is the worst in the NFL. So even if, yes, Justin Fields is having trouble seeing guys, he's a little gun shy probably from being hit so much on offense, but it ain't working on defense either. What does all this mean? It means the Chicago Bears are the worst team in the NFL. Matt Eberflus will finish the season simply because the Bears don't fire people mid-season, and then he will be gone. And if Ryan Poles can't find a way to keep his job as GM, he might be gone too. Jalen Carter looking good, DJ Moore not being used. You traded for Claypool for a first-round pick, and he's not doing anything. You didn't really fix your offensive line because you didn't want to spend the money. Your defense, I mean, all the above, and you hired this coach. So who knows what we're going to have in Chicago next year? But I don't think it'll be Matt Eberflus. I believe we'll get an offensive guy in here, and I think the ball just keeps rolling downhill. Denver doesn't look good either. Russell Wilson doesn't look like his normal self. But if anything, Chicago is the get right game for the Denver offense. So give me Denver minus 3.5 in Chicago. And I know you guys have been pounding overs, but give me the under in this one. It's just awful. It's all around bad.
Yeah, this is my favorite under of the week. Chicago's just as bad. I mean, there's especially too after that ass whipping that the Broncos taken. If they don't win this game, they might just like break up already somehow. Denver at least has some talent on offense versus I don't know what is happening in Chicago. Like you said, get right game. It's going to be a low scoring game, but I can see them winning by 6 or 7. So I'll take Denver, I guess. If I can't pass, I guess I'll take Denver.
So I have my pick circled, and I have not watched a lot of Chicago Bears games. And listening to Aaron talk, it's making me kind of think things over. But a legitimate question for you, Aaron, because you watch the Bears games. How many RPOs or quarterback design runs have the Bears run this season with Justin Fields?
They didn't start running with Justin last week until the game was far out of hand. And I'm pretty sure he got a concussion on one play. DJ Moore had to point to the sideline because apparently our medical staff isn't even looking at our quarterback and couldn't realize him wobbling back to the huddle to try and call another play. Yeah, it's just all bad. I mean, they're not. You talked about all the motions in Miami. I haven't seen a single motion play in Chicago unless we're bringing in a tight end to help block. And even then, the tight end blocks the wrong guy or goes to the wrong hole. It's a mess. It's unorganized and they look badly coached.
What would Justin Fields look like in Baltimore if he's in a Lamar Jackson type of situation?
I don't think he'd be as good as Lamar because I saw Lamar's arm in Louisville. Now, Justin had a great arm in college as well, but he's playing with a different talent level.
It wasn't Lamar's arm.
You know this. You have several first-round picks on your offensive line. You have first-round picks at all the wide receivers. He never had to throw with anticipation at Ohio State, which is becoming a problem here in the NFL because as well as all these defensive numbers, his wide receivers have – like this last week, the Chiefs were playing a bunch of man. Nobody was open. Like our guys aren't getting open. And it's – I think he would be better off than he is in Chicago. Chicago has a defensive-minded head coach, a first-time play caller as offensive coordinator who's never developed a quarterback. I mean, the guy had Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback in Green Bay. And he comes here, and you know how Aaron did. Aaron ran whatever the hell he wanted to. That was the main thing in Green Bay this year was like, we finally get to see LaFleur's offense. You know, it's just – and Justin needs the development. I've said it from day one. They had Nagy here, and he didn't know how to do it. So they tried to zig when the whole rest of the league was zagging and going with offensive guys, and they went with a defensive guy with a defense that doesn't work. It's just awful. It's all bad.
Basically, what I'm alluding to is Justin Fields isn't being utilized the way that he should be utilized. When he was running for his life last year and putting the ball in his hands and ran for 1,000 yards last year and looked like the future of the Chicago Bears, once we finally see that this year with Chicago, we're going to see that, hey, Justin Fields probably is the future in Chicago, and maybe we shouldn't get rid of him. Maybe we should use these top 2 draft picks that we have to continue to build around him. Marvin Harrison Jr., maybe? I don't know. Maybe get them another big fat big meaty man that wants to slap some meat around on that offensive line. And when you were talking about just how bad the Bears have been this season and how you're on Denver and everything, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should be on Denver too. But then I remembered we're picking against the spread. Chicago doesn't have to win this game for me to get this right. So I'm sticking with the Bears at plus 3.5. And hopefully I don't look like a fool when I do this, because I told myself last week and I told you guys last week, I'm never picking the Bears again. Right. But here I am, believing in an Ohio State quarterback to get the job done. And maybe they can put all the other things behind them of last week and all the media attention of things being stolen and their defensive coordinator abruptly retiring. Well, guess what? They have a defensive head coach, and he can step in and he can call plays.
He said he was going to today for the rest of the season.
That's what I read as well.
Plays on defense.
Yeah. So give me the Bears at plus 3.5. I think that they can cover. I don't know that necessarily that they'll win, but I mean, Denver just lost. They just gave up 70 points. 7-0. That doesn't happen in the NFL. I felt like we were watching a Power 5 team play a Division II team in the NCAA, where I was watching my son play Madden on rookie mode. 70-20 does not happen in the NFL.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs could have put up 70, but they pulled Mahomes, and thankfully Blaine Gabbert gave us a couple of picks. And that
how much did Matt Nagy enjoy that game?
Oh, he was loving it. I mean, but the Matt Nagy thing, I mean, he grew up in the Andy Reid tree. Andy Reid runs that offense, you know. I mean, like I said before, that's why Eric Bieniemy went to Washington, to get under a defensive coach so he could show people, this is my offense. This is what I would run if I was your head coach. You know,
the offense that is giving up historic numbers for sacks. Not good.
I mean, I'm just saying that's why he went there. It's
right. I
didn't say it's working.
You should have stayed in Kansas City, bud.
Our final game of the week is Sunday at 1:00. The Baltimore Ravens traveling to Cleveland. Cleveland is 3-point home favorites. The over/under in this game is 40.5. The money line for Baltimore is plus 130. For Cleveland, it's minus 155. It's I mean, I know Baltimore lost to Indy just last week, but that Colts team beat the Chiefs last year. So it's not like they don't have fight in them. I picked Baltimore to win this division, and I got to ride with them. If they don't start winning some divisional games, they're not going to keep my division winner hopes alive. So give me Baltimore plus 3. They did have a fourth down where the guy literally got held on the line at the first down line, and they didn't call it. There was Zay Flowers coming across. And Lamar even threw the ball in that area to make sure the ref was looking in that area, and they didn't call anything, but it is what it is. I think Baltimore gets back on track this week at Cleveland, a tough defense that'll keep them in any game. And I think it's a low-scoring game. That's why the over-under is so low, because both these defenses are really good. But I got to ride Baltimore plus 3. Go ahead, Corey.
Well, I picked the Browns to win this division, and that defense is looking nasty right now. Minus 3 doesn't scare me. I'm going to hammer this over as well. That's only 21-20. I think they can get there. The Baltimore, with them having a third of their team starters hurt, that's a big deal now. And you're seeing it a little bit. We just seen it against Indianapolis. So I'll probably hammer the money line and the over-under as well. I think Cleveland's on a little roll here, and I think they win outright.
I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, I picked the Cincinnati Bengals to win this division. And I think I even did that knowing that Joe Burrow had a calf injury, and still, for whatever reason, decided to go with the Bengals. If I could jump ship now, I'm staying in Ohio and I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. There's no way that they lose that game to Pittsburgh if they don't lose Nick Chubb. And I said that last week, I believe, or the week before. That would have been last week. There's no way they lose that game. They should be sitting at 3-0. Their defense is probably the best defense in the NFL right now. And I think that with Baltimore traveling to Cleveland, that's a big factor in this game as well. Now, if it was Cleveland traveling to Baltimore, it might be a little bit different. But give me Cleveland -3.
The weather looks pretty normal too, so we're not going to have a crazy AFC North game.
Y'all got me worried about my pick now. I've been in that stadium in Cleveland. It's not fun to be with their fans. They give you hell the whole game. I was there for Justin Fields' first game where he got sacked 9 times, and the guy behind me, I felt like I was getting sacked 9 times. I had my Fields jersey on. I'm supporting my guy in his first start, and that was a rough one. But you got me worried about that pick. But I gotta stick to my guns and go with Baltimore. Are there any other games this week that you guys are really looking forward to? Or we just lost Corey for a second. Kyle, are there any games this week?
Any other games that you guys are looking for? Hey, see you later, Corey. Have a great night. Yeah, I'm probably looking forward to not a lot of these games, to be honest. It's not there's. I mean, I think when we were trying to fill out the 6-pack challenge this week, it was rather tough. Maybe to see how Burrow looks against Tennessee, because Tennessee hasn't been doing great this year. The Bucks Saints would probably be a good one to decide who has a good chance to win that division. If Jimmy Garoppolo plays, that Raiders Chargers game might be a good one. I think an intriguing one might honestly be the Cardinals and the 49ers. The Cardinals haven't remained in games. The Cardinals have started off hot in some of these games and then fallen off, but they did just beat America's team in the Dallas Cowboys. How'd that feel, Cowboys fans? Right? Ouch. How do you lose to the Arizona Cardinals?
Right.
So I think that this is gonna be a game for the Cardinals that show, hey, nobody really knows why they were hanging around, or maybe the Cardinals are for real if they can hang around with the 49ers. So that would be
that would be definitely something to watch. I know when I went to work Monday, I'm used to walking into the factory and everyone knows me as the Bears fan there. And usually they're all giving me crap, but Monday I was met with a ton of empathy. Everyone was just like, I am so sorry how bad that was. And you got to watch Taylor Swift the entire game. I'm so sorry, but Cowboys fans, they were definitely getting it about the Arizona game. That is a 14-point spread, which to me is the only thing intriguing, is whether or not San Francisco is going to cover it. To me, San Francisco is your NFC representative in the Super Bowl, even if unfortunate things happen and Brock Purdy goes down this year. They said Sam Darnold was looking pretty good in training camp, good enough for them to trade away Trey Lance and give up on their project. So I feel like San Francisco is head and shoulders. Well, I wouldn't say head and shoulders because Philly's really good too, but those two teams are head and shoulders above the rest of the NFC thus far in the season. Now, health holds something in that as well, with some of those teams.
Yeah, I think as long as Brock Purdy doesn't try to throw into triple coverage like Dak Prescott did, just continuing to add salt to that wound for those Cowboys fans. I don't really like Cowboys fans. Triple coverage. Come on, go ahead, Corey.
For me, 2 games real quick. I think Pittsburgh at Houston might be fun. But I'm actually really jacked about my game. New England at Dallas. It will be on TV. Somehow I've managed to be able to watch 2 games of the 3, New England. And we're going to see good defenses go against each other. We're going to see one good offense go against us. And I mean, look, we're 1-2. We lost 2 games on like just wild plays at the end. And then we beat the Jets. Now, granted, the Jets aren't what the Jets we thought they were, but our schedule, I think we either have the hardest schedule or the second hardest schedule this year. And so far, I'm still kind of impressed, especially with the defense. I'm impressed. Dallas is just another hard test. So I'm anxious if nothing else just to see what we can do with them.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what the Patriots do this offseason, whether they stick with Mac Jones or decide to draft someone who they think might be a better fit or someone who they can move forward with, because they dominated the Jets for that entire game. And I think the Jets threw a Hail Mary at the end of the game that almost won it.
Yeah.
So, Belichick's got to be thinking, what do I need to do to separate myself? My defense is really good. I just held Miami to the lowest point total they've had this season. My O line is pretty good. I don't have crazy receivers or anything like that, but I need something to put him up over the top.
See,
I think
that's the other thing too, real quick with New York. So Belichick, the GM, I'm still not thrilled with. We spent the most money in wide receivers and tight ends the past few years. Who did we get? And we're seeing Devontae Adams and all these other people getting moved around, and we don't get anybody. We get Juju.
Well, I thought you guys were going to get D-Hop for a second there, but maybe that was a good pass.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if Belichick, the GM, can kind of fix that stuff, and notoriously we're bad at drafting wide receivers too.
Yeah.
So maybe that can change. I don't know. I don't know. We spent too much money on mediocre wide receivers and tight ends. It used to work. It doesn't work anymore. Right. So we need to fix that.
I think that game is kind of going to be a dogfight. The over-under is, I think, sitting at 43, and I would probably take the under on that game. Oh, yeah. I would almost take the under on every Patriots game this year, because with like normal Patriots the past few years, they have a really good defense, and they have Mac Jones who likes to hit people in the nuts. Or they have
supposed to hit the numbers.
Yeah. They have Max Sue or Ndamukong Jones, however you want to put it. Who doesn't have the cleanest reputation. I don't anticipate that being a high scoring game. I think with Will Grier and Zeke being in New England, I think that they're going to definitely give away some of the Cowboys signs and give them a little bit of inside information. And the Cowboys just got embarrassed last week by the Cardinals. So I don't expect it to be high scoring. Maybe 21-17. Well, yeah, 21-17, 17-14, something like that.
I'm kind of surprised that the spread is Dallas -6.5. That seems
I saw it at 7.
I just saw it at 7 too.
Fair enough. Okay, well, that's even worse.
7,
that seems a little. I mean, I know the offense is better, but damn, our defense is good. Mm-hmm. Like, as long as we can contain CeeDee Lamb, Dak's like, who else is here? Right, so, I mean, I don't know. I might dabble on that spread maybe, but.
Well, the Dallas defense, when they lost Trayvon Diggs, they lost some of their ability to be as aggressive as they like to be, because he was, he's a shutdown corner, and he's going to take the ball away. But if they have to kind of sit back and play it easy, you lose a little bit of what you get in Micah Parsons and Lawrence coming off the other side. But that'll be an intriguing game coming on at I believe that's America's Game of the Week this week. So
it is. So
the winner of that game is considered America's team too.
Should be.
So.
It's been us for a while, but whatever.
I know my team's has no claim to that, so I'll just leave.
Are you even Illinois' team at this point?
We're not Indiana's team, because that would probably be the Colts at this point. But I don't know. Notre Dame is Illinois' team, I guess. My pain. It is what it is. But I guess we'll get out of here unless there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about, and we'll come back next week and recap this in a couple of weeks. I'll probably wait until we get a couple of teams into the bye, maybe mid-season. We'll start talking about contenders and pretenders and get into that whole spiel. But until then, we'll just come in here and hit the 6-pack challenge. I mean, it's taken over an hour to get through the 6 teams each week. I don't know if it's me talking too much or what it is, but it is. I don't know. But we'll get out of here unless you guys got something else.
I'm good.
All right. See y'all next week.
God, the bear.